It's time for the month ahead again, and as we stand only about 6 weeks away from the general election, it does seem a rather quiet election season, as election seasons go. A lot of the normal mudslinging and attacks are happening, but on a much kind of toned down scale than we usually see. What could be toning us down? Well, certainly there's no shortage of anger and irritation at the load shedding and disappointments that we continue to receive as South Africans, and it might be that we're getting to become a little punch drunk from all the revelations in the face of what politicians are up to and the real truth about Eskom and the perilous situation that it's in. You'll remember that in the last month various statements have been made about how Eskom is actually pretty close to collapse, and under normal circumstances, if this were a normally run company, would completely collapse by April. Well, we know that the government is stepping in to try and desperately stop that, at least before the elections. But there's a little more to say about Eskom in a moment's time. I do just want to reflect back about something I said last month, which unfortunately came horribly true. From the chart's point of view, there are still many secrets to emerge, and we've just entered the stage now when many secrets will start emerging over these 3 months leading up to the election. So it's kind of like there have been 2 levels. There's been, first level was the Guptas, second level has been Bosasa. It looks like there's another level to go, and there's yet more to come out that's going to horrify and shock South Africans. Of course, as we know, the state security report, which had been handed to the president last December, was suddenly released 2 weeks ago, shortly after that video went to air, and it did indeed expose us to an altogether new level of scandal at a very much deeper level, where we saw that former President Jacob Zuma and his acolytes and his government manipulated the State Security Agency into an entirely self-serving spy agency for himself and his allies, his Gupta friends no doubt, and to try and infiltrate all those anti-Zuma forces. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the old South African government, now that you mention it. Well, no wonder it's such a scandal. But as I said last month, there's just layers and layers, and we will see more a little bit after the election, I think. It is, of course, typical of the government to try and hold things back until after the election, so to minimize the impact on themselves. To a large extent, it does look like they will be able to hold back some of the Eskom problems. The current load shedding is easily going to go on for another week to the end of the month. The chart shows the current services issue that's going on, but it is by no means going away. If I didn't know that there was an election ahead, I would say that it's going to repeat itself in April, and it's likely, though, that, as we know, the government will pull various strings in order for that not to happen. But it will be back in June, and it shows as an on and off ongoing process all the way through 2022. So we certainly have quite a while, and hopefully we'll still have a power utility by 2022. As I said last week, the president, of course, has been under an enormous amount of strain, but it is beginning to look like, I've used the phrase, he's playing his hands close to his chest. Well, he is beginning to look more and more like a typical poker player, in which not only is he playing his hands close to his chest and we are unable to read exactly his face, but he might not be conveying the whole story as it really is, might not be entirely truthful, might be deceiving us or misleading us just a little bit, as poker players are wont to do. That deception is not necessarily about nefarious and wicked plans going on. It simply is about he's not telling us the whole story. He knows things that we don't know, that it is not in his interests to reveal. So the urge to get truth out and cleanliness back into his government and so on. He does understand the value of that, the importance of that. He probably does agree with the principle of that, but his own interests and his interests of his party continue to override that. And for his own reasons, he continues to withhold certain knowledge and information from the South African public, because he knows, of course, it affects the chances of his party in the upcoming election. So maybe it's time for us to stop watching this space and start watching what is the president doing and what is the government actually doing about all the extreme corruption and dire straits that South Africa is really in. The image of the country is taking a serious dent at the moment. Unfortunately, the president is going to be out of the country a lot in the month ahead. It looks like a lot of local travel, a fair amount of international travel happening. I mean beyond the campaigning, I mean about trying to get the image of the country into a better place internationally speaking. It could also be a bit of a perfect storm if we add sport into the picture. Doesn't look like we're doing well this month in that regard, and our financial situation is understandably a little bit perilous as well, and hopefully no rating agencies are going to be in town, because it's not looking good for the Treasury either. Let's not watch this place, let's come clean. Wouldn't we love to see that? So, while they will, as ever, go about their usual pulling the wool over our eyes, let's raise the wool a little bit for ourselves and see what we can expect for ourselves in the month ahead. Aries, it looks like you've been having one of those one step forward, two steps back experiences in recent times, and you might feel as if some of the progress you've made in past months has kind of been undone or fallen apart in more recent times. And that is going to shift a little bit after your birthday, so you really just have to hang in there a little bit longer. But it's not going to just magically shift on its own. Aries, it's time to get back down to some brass tacks, sorting out things at home, from the most prosaic of domestic things, the ordinary stuff that needs to be done around the house, to the more fundamental domestic things, and that's the people in the house and your relationship with them, spouses, partners, children, and others who might live in your house. Some things need to be sorted out, and now is the time to do that. And in that sorting out, you also need to acknowledge your own role in kind of either letting things get out of hand or not keeping a control over what's going on. What you really, really want for yourself, for your home, for your family, has not been what the agenda is all about. So it's time to do a little bit of work on yourself, and the good news is that's really going to make some strides for you. Putting yourself forward, getting back to the sense of who am I and who do I really want to be, and asserting that back into the world. That's a great new birth year resolution for after your birthday. I'm going to get back to being me again and making sure that that harmonizes with the people around me. Taurus, it's all about relationship life and personal life this month, not only in terms of relationships, but also in terms of what you do for yourself and what your more personal goals are as opposed to professional ones. They might be struggling at the moment, not through any fault of your own. It might seem as if you're fine, you've got the situation under control, relationship is working, or personal goal is on the line, working fine, but there are other frustrations. There could be delays, there could be external obstacles that you have absolutely no power over. So it is a time to sit back and regroup. Regrouping might also apply to the relationships themselves, and especially your most important relationship, because you need to sort out kind of what do I want, what does my partner want, how is this relationship working, so that we can actually both get to where we need to be in terms of our relationship, as well as take the relationship forward as well. So that's your challenge for this month. Am I asserting what I want? Is my partner getting what they want? Or is one of us always getting the upper hand? It might just be time to think again, why am I in this relationship and what am I getting from it? Am I contributing in the right way and am I getting what I want from that? And then also beyond relationships, in terms of personal goals, personal projects, anywhere where you're investing your time and energy, that's the question to ask. Am I getting from this what I really want, what I intended from that? And time to sort it out before it gets around to your birthday. Gemini, it's time to do a little load shedding of your own. And it's possible that some of that is happening without even your intention. And what do I mean? Well, kind of like most of us this month, things are not going quite as smoothly as you would like them to go. And so that really means you need to make sure that you're not trying to do too many things at the same time, and more importantly, that they are for you, the things that you are doing. It looks like you're caught up in stuff to do with other people. You know, usually we see that as the people immediately around you. They could be family members, they could be people that you work with, people that you feel some kind of need to help them out and take some of the load onto your back. It looks like there could be boundary issues, you're carrying things which are not yours to carry, people could be imposing stuff, and you trying to be nice and keep all the people happy all the time, and that's going to only shoot you in the foot. In fact, you might be feeling a little bit troubled by your boundaries being stepped on at the moment, and it's a great time just to re-establish good boundaries and ask yourself the question, what is mine to do and what should be delegated to someone else or just has nothing to do with me at all? Keep yourself on what's really most about your goals at this time. It might be difficult for you to identify those goals or to work with them closely. They might seem away from what you're doing at the moment, and just as long as you get back to regrouping, load shedding, cut out what's unnecessary in your life at the moment, concentrate on the most important thing, that's going to take you back to a position where you can pursue some of your grander goals within a couple of months. Cancerians also will experience a focus on their personal life, at least at the start of the period that I'm looking at, over the next week or so into April. And this is also a great time just to check out relationship is doing well, I'm not neglecting or being neglected, but it does look for the most part that your relationship is following its path, and that's why it's good to invest some energy in it. It's not the only area of your life though, and as the month goes by, more focus will be placed onto your professional life. In fact, depending on what kind of work that you do, it looks like there's a lot of publicity for the spotlight, a lot of opportunity for the spotlight to be upon you, whether that's publicity or campaign or putting yourself in the public eye, and whatever is the appropriate public for the kind of work that you do. But this is a great time to get noticed yourself, or to get your product noticed or your service noticed, or whatever the case may be. For some of you Cancerians, if that's the case, it's also time to look much further and realize that even in the international sphere there might be interest in what you have to offer. For some Cancerians, that just means it's a great time to travel, and if you get the opportunity, now's the time to explore new things, whether you're traveling, whether it's armchair travel, time to broaden your mind. Leos have a rather quiet month to look forward to, which might not sound too thrilling, although there's nothing as good as catching your breath in all the hectic chaos that we have to face. It's not just about catching your breath. This is also a time for you to prune out some of your goals. You really have to ensure that you're getting stuff back from whatever you've been doing, whether you're involved in some kind of business relationship or it's just in general, but it does look from the chart's point of view as if someone else is gaining. It just ain't you. So partnerships need to be re-equalized, and that might also apply in your personal relationships as well. Make sure that there is an equal compromise, equal gain, equal joy and pleasure, equal benefit in all types of relationships at this time of your life. There's also an indication of increased money spending at this time, and that could be on things which don't directly benefit you. If that's investments, then great, go ahead, but do watch your money and your resources. It might even be that someone has their eye on something of yours, a resource or something that you yourself are able to do or able to offer or have. And as long as you're selling that at a high price, it's all good. Don't give away anything at this time. It's all about making sure that your service or your product or yourself is properly seen and properly rewarded. Virgos, if you look at this the right way, this is going to be a really fun month for you. But in order for it to be a fun month for you, you're going to have to let go of some of that Virgo precision and potentially control or making sure that everything goes according to plan. It's not that you're a controller, but you know, you've got that list that you like to check off, and in that case maybe you need to let go of a list or two this month as well. Because Virgos, if you're willing to kind of let go a little bit and relax and go with the flow, it's a great opportunity to be exposed to new situations, new people, new environments that can really help you. So for once, you've got to realize that at this particular time, you're not in charge of what's best for you. You need to be exposed to something different or something new. Very different kind of people and places are going to do that for you. So this month is very much about keeping an open mind. It doesn't mean that you should automatically agree and go with anything that comes along. In fact, Virgos, there's a clear warning in your sign to keep your bullshit filters up and to make sure that you're not having the wool pulled from over your eyes, because your willingness to help people can get you into that situation where your filters just don't seem to work. So you need to keep those in strong control, especially with people around you and people in your neighborhood and environment all seem to want something from you. Virgo, you've got to reply, I'm not here this month, cheers, off on a holiday. Librans really need to get their heads around money this month. It's time to kind of get some discipline in order, because you're in a position where you could actually build up some of your financial resources. You might have seen some of that happening in recent times, but certainly around this particular time, this is the time to draw the line, have a plan, have a strategy. Part of the problem, of course, can be yourself. Too much spending is the easiest way to get rid of having a good financial situation at hand. And it does look in the charts this month as if you can't resist spending on something you love or something that is about pleasure alone. There's no harm in that in general, but not in a month when you're trying to discipline your financial resources or discipline yourself in order to build those financial resources, because this is potentially a time to go ahead. In terms of your business, this is a good time to spend the money there rather than on things that are just about pleasurable things or unnecessary expenses in general. Your personal life might also be challenged with the question of, should I be asserting what I want, should I be cooperating? And considering that this is a month to draw discipline and good boundaries and methods and routines into your life, you need to get a bit of that into your personal life as well. It's really going to do well. It's like this is the month for building up your kitty, personal and business, and from here everything else is in a stronger position. Scorpios, things are not quite working out exactly according to plan, and one of the reasons might be that you've got the wrong plan at the moment. So Scorpios, you really need to be asking yourself, why am I doing this? And most importantly, am I making use of the skills and talents that I was born with? And am I doing the thing that makes me feel like myself? I always say a test at a time like this is to ask yourself, would I be doing this if they weren't paying me? Would I be showing up every day if they weren't paying me? And maybe there won't be a definite yes for any of us to that, because, you know, work's always a little bit of trouble. But certainly the challenge this month for you Scorpios is to make sure that you're using the talents and gifts that you were born with in order to be able to achieve your goals. But even still, you're going to have to rely on others to help you. This is a great time to rope in the team, or to rely on friends and associates around you in order to help you, but also to have to rely on your Scorpio sensitivity as to who's really in this for the right reasons. People might try and get something from you, or might try and want something from you, and that's where you need to have your boundaries in place. Your personal life and your relationships are a much better outlet to make sure that you're in touch with what you need and what you want and what really floats your boat that you're born with. So get it back at home, get that sense of yourself and take that into your goals. Sagittarians, for the most part, Sagittarians are kind of having a bit of a retreat at this time. And not a hideaway retreat, although if you're into one of those, this is still a good time to do that. But this is time to kind of pull out of your normal everyday life and experience something completely different. For the really lucky Sagittarians, that means it could be something like a holiday or exploring something all new and all different. For most Sagittarians, it's just going to be about refocusing, pulling away from all the outer world stuff that you're doing all the time and getting back to some of the own stuff that is a little bit more important to get done at this time. It does look as if you're making some sacrifices, be that of your own resources or stuff or of some of your principles, in order for things to go ahead with someone else right now. And this is not the time to be making sacrifices, especially since it looks like these are not with people who are important enough or close enough for that really to be a valid kind of sacrifice. So it's about don't make unnecessary sacrifices at this time. It's also time to get back to your own spiritual life and ask yourself the question, is the way that I'm living my life at the moment, this month, really consistent with that? Or to ask yourself the question, have I been neglecting my spiritual life? I need to get back on track. And if you're spending a little kind of retreat time in getting back to important stuff, make sure you spend some time to get yourself spiritually back on track as well. Capricorns need, like many of the other signs, to kind of get back down to who am I really and what do I really want. It's been happening a lot for the signs this month as we kind of question, what am I and what do we stand for, what do I stand for, especially in the months going up to an election. But the chart shows that really well about you, yourself, and your own life. Capricorns look like they've been undertaking this for quite a while and continuing in the process of cutting out what's no longer relevant in your life. This is the time to kind of say the buck stops here. Whether it's about your life or whether it's about your work or whatever else is going on, clean out what's not necessary, taking charge, taking responsibility, and asserting your natural sense of responsibility and authority. But the buck stops here is not so much about having to draw boundaries and act in an authoritative manner. It's really about, I no longer want to do what I don't what doesn't apply to my goals or what I don't even love to do. Capricorns really need to question themselves, do I love what I am doing right now? And if not, is there space in my life to insert something that I love to do? Even if it just means get a hobby or get a break on the weekend, and ideally though, it means adjust your professional life so that you're doing more of what you love and less of what you have to do. That's what the means when it says the buck stops here. It means this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. Aquarians will get a chance to get on top of your financial situation and even improve your financial situation at this time. It does look like a great time for money, but this is money that comes from you, not money that is paid to you in a salary. So it's money that you generate yourself. If you're self-employed, if it's your own business, that is the money that I mean. If you've got anything else that you love or something on the side or somewhere where it's your own talent and your own ability that can generate the money, that's really where I mean. And most important of all of that, it really means that this is the time when your ideas can be what's generating the money that we're talking about. So a great time to benefit from your own ideas. Even if it isn't money, that also means it's a great time to put them into practice in a different way. Put them into practice by pursuing your goals related to your personal ideas and making sure that your existing goal is aligned or gives you the opportunity with for you to express what you want and what your great opinion is at the moment rather than someone else's. I mean, for some Aquarians, this means this is the time to be inventive and get your wildest schemes out into play, and if your work allows for that, this is most certainly the time to do that. But most importantly, different version of the Capricorn buck stops here thing for you, related next door sign Aquarius, that says I'm in charge of what's happening to me, and as long as I'm in charge, it's actually working. That's how to make it work now, Aquarians. Just take charge yourself. Pisceans need to be aware of the influences around them at the best of times. You always are prone to some influence by other people's feelings and thoughts and so on. But right now, even more than ever, this is a time to make sure that you've got proper boundaries in place with respect to other people's feelings. You'll be picking up all sorts of stuff. You'll be picking up stuff even from people close to you. And with people close to you, like important partners, it's natural to assume you're right, which you probably are, and it's natural to assume that maybe then you have to do something about that, which is the wrong assumption. Just because you pick something up does not mean that you're the one that's supposed to do something about it. It just means that you're sensitive. And right now, the best solution for your sensitivity is not to engage in fixing anyone else and sorting out or giving of your resources. It's actually to withdraw a little bit. This is a great opportunity either to get away from it all or just to get indoors and focus on your stuff. You know, if you're creative, or if you've got other projects of your own underway, or even if it's in order to go further in work at the moment, you just need to pull back and knuckle down and get on with your own thing. But that is the best way to handle the excessive flow of energy around you at this time. As always, creativity and spiritual life of any kind, things that are so important to Pisceans, will really make a difference in getting you out of the muck of everyday life. Just make sure you get yourself out of the muck. Well, it certainly looks like it could be a challenging time for many folk this month, and a lot of us have to kind of pull ourselves together and really get on with it. And that's what we really need to do in the months ahead as we choose the next iteration of our government. I will be here to talk about that on the month ahead at the end of April, just before the election. But of course, I'll be back next week with a really great interview you're going to want to watch. See you then.